afternoon and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Super Tease video, and we're 1 week away from patch 11.2 Ghosts of Koresh, and we are seeing a significant volume of changes, both PvE and PvP balance changes that will have an impact on your specialization and its performance for this next patch. I've had a ton of requests asking me to construct a tier list to discuss the pros and the cons in anticipation of this patch, and I will leave this as a caveat that this is a prediction. There is such a massive volume of changes that I have no doubt that I'm going to be inaccurate on some of these. However, we need to get a baseline idea of where they could fall and then move forward from there. So this is a tier list that's going to be ongoing. It's going to be updated every week that there are changes, every week that I've been able to play more, communicate with players, and observe streamers. We're going to be updating it and relaying those changes with you in real time. So if your spec doesn't end up directly on the top or maybe even potentially on the bottom, I wouldn't be too worried about it because it is so chaotic, the amount of changes that we are getting. Like, I was just scrolling through the infinite list of changes in anticipation for it, and it's literally like an essay level thesis that you have to go through in order to really understand what's happening. So I'm going to try and break it down into a couple of phases and as simple terms as possible. So the first phase for patch 11.2 is that our gear is resetting. We're going to be going back to honor gear. What does that mean? It means that we lose last season's set bonus and we haven't attained the next season's set bonus. So that means you need to take into account the power loss of the previous set bonus as well as any baseline class changes. And this is how your spec is going to feel for roughly 1 to 3 weeks until you are able to get the 4 set bonus, get some additional item level, right? Because a lot of specs scale with more stats. So take that into account. So this is a phase 1 prediction for 11.2, where we're going to be attributing a lot of the power loss to last season's set bonus and kind of baseline class changes. Now, let's just get started because there's a lot, right? Arcane Mage is getting a lot of direct damage buffs, and it's focusing in on kind of the cheesy, old school Mitch Jones builds with new PvP talents and a lot of direct modifiers on Arcane Blast. I don't know how that's going to work out for it, because the main advantage of Arcane at the moment is that it's very slippery, highly mobile with Arcane missiles and barrage spam, and just kind of just moving around the map. And it seems like that may possibly be getting weaker, but overall that's kind of bad mechanically, because as a mage, if you have to stand still a lot, you're going to get absolutely shattered. So Arcane, I'm kind of being a bit hesitant with it, and we also need to consider the strength and the power level of specs that might be difficult for you. And I think things like DPS Shaman specs, Hunter specs, those are likely still going to be very prevalent. So Arcane, I'm being a little bit modest here, maybe extremely modest. The thing is with Arcane, if you're a beginner, you might want to avoid this spec and just stick to Frost. If you're an advanced level player, you really want to go after Mastery and feel some satisfaction, then it's definitely a really good spec to go after. You're going to get that experience, but it's not exactly new player friendly, and I've said that in pretty much every tier list. But this is one that could be really volatile. If the one shots are there, you're going to be really crazy, but you're probably also going to get nerfed almost immediately, because anything that has to do with one shots, although I don't know how Marksmanship Hunter is still getting away with it in the current season. Usually one-shots are the things that get snipped first, and you're getting all of these changes to you that are making you kind of a one-shot bot. So you're probably going to get snipped first, which ends up, maybe you could end up being even lower than this. Fire Mage, I have serious concerns for. Fire Mage is getting its baseline ignite effect reduced because of the new set bonus, and you won't have that set bonus and remember, this is phase 1, and even when you do get that set bonus, it's nerfed by like 70+% in PvP. So if they're nerfing your baseline class mechanics and we didn't see a counteraction to PvP modifiers, that's just going to be felt massively. So for me, I think Fire Mage is going to feel probably weaker since then, and also it's extremely good in PvE and is getting nerfed week to week, and we still might see a week of changes, which is likely going to be a nerf for it. So my anticipation for Fire, kind of holding it in reservations as a bit of a lower ranking. Frost Mage, I still anticipate it's going to be very powerful. Another thing to note, though, with Mage is that you are all losing Temporal Anomaly, which is the Bloodlust proc, which is likely going to be felt very significantly. It's a huge amount of haste to get, right? It's one of the highest value stats you could get, right? Proccing a Bloodlust in the middle of the game. You are going to be losing that. Now, that's going to probably even out once we're max gear, but in phase 1 losing that, you might notice these big haste windows being lost. But I would find it hard to believe that Frost isn't still really good, at least. Its survivability is still high. We didn't see any PvP modifiers bringing down durability in that regard for Mage. Still going to be mostly instant cast damage based. No significant modifier changes there. So I'm going to be putting it up onto S tier for now. I think it'll be solid moving forward. It was already really strong. I don't think it's going to be losing a huge amount. But Temporal Anomaly might be felt most significantly between all three of these. Moonkin is losing a pretty powerful set bonus with the basically bonus damage towards Star Surge. So you're going to be losing a little bit of single target burst. But a lot of players have been moving over to the Elune build, and I definitely need to consider giving it a go. I've seen a couple of Boomkins when I was playing yesterday, and I'm still kind of just playing Keeper because it's what I got used to. Even though I was a big advocate of the Elune build when it first came out, it got giga nerfed. Again, burst damage, high, these usually get nerfed early on. But Boomkin, it's probably going to feel pretty decent, I think. With the changes that are coming through. Maybe not the best, again, a great beginner spec, can have some survivability issues, and if you're getting attacked, it can feel a little bit janky in that effect, but giving it a bit of a higher ranking, I expect that it will be at least solid, which honestly is probably where you want to be on this tier list. If you're giga OP and you got a lot of one-shots, your eyes on you, you're probably going to get nerfed. If you're kind of just like low-key, chilling, like in the middle, you're probably going to end up in a really good position by the time the first weeks are over. And usually the big PvP changes happen within the first 3 weeks of a patch we've seen historically for like the last couple of expansions. So yeah, you kind of just want to be somewhere in B or A, honestly, on this type of prediction list. Beast Mastery, I fully expect is still gonna be really good, even though its set bonus was really strong. You got like the auto barbed shots. It's gonna feel like a little bit of a loss there. It's just your baseline core damage output is just so insanely strong. Honestly, Unholy DK needs to be updated and modernized with Beast Mastery with its pet, because having your pet just charge the target with kill command, making sure it gets uptime. Unholy doesn't have that. It's just your pet just waddles around everywhere. It's completely useless. Beast Mastery is still going to be really solid. So we are starting to see some trends from the last season moving into this season, that if you're already really dominant and strong in that patch, there's probably a good shot that you're going to be still strong and dominant. I am curious for some specs that were underperformers if they manage to level up as we go through this. Marksmanship Hunter, again, I really, there's a lot of S tier specs here, and maybe I'm going to need to bump everything down to try and get this out here. But I don't know how you guys keep getting away with it, but there was like a couple of changes in here that was like you just got aim shot damage, and I didn't see like a PvP modifier against it in order to reduce it. And whenever I saw that, I was just like, oh, wait, what are we doing? We're going to be giving them even more. And I feel like without set bonuses, they're still going to be very, very, very strong. I think Marksman will be very strong. Demonology is probably getting the most significant amount of changes. How much impact will they have? You know, Master Summoners going baseline talent tree, so you're gonna be able to get demons out a little bit faster. Saw some modifiers, but a lot of them aren't going through in PvP. I still think Demonology is gonna be really good though, so I'm gonna put it up onto A tier. It was already really solid, and you're getting a little bit of quality of life improvements. Probably still gonna have, you know, AI issues. I think I saw a hidden buff also to Fell Lord, so you may want to try Fell Lord. It might actually be a really good option. And if it ends up being a good option, Demo will likely be the best Warlock spec, because that'll be great counter melee tech, and you'll just be the most dominant against them. And then in ranged situations, you're the caster that has Mortal Strike, so you're very desirable in that regard. So Demo is one that I could see swinging like really hard to the top, and maybe I'm being too modest with it here. I actually want to put it on S tier. Demonology could easily swing really high. Now, Affliction is one of the specializations that's losing a very powerful set bonus, where you can get Unstable Affliction on multiple targets. I think it's going to be felt as a huge loss at the beginning of the patch. They are buffing Unstable Affliction's damage as compensation for this, but the amount of Dispel protection that it gave you, the synergy with Dark Glare, you're going to be losing a lot of that. So for me, I think Affliction's probably going to be maybe mid, maybe even lower mid. I don't know if it's as bad as Fire Mage. These ones might be pretty close, but I think the loss of the multi-UA is definitely going to be felt. And set bonus is not going to be coming through for a while. They did buff Hellcaller a lot, so you may want to try Hellcaller. Difficulty with that is that you have to build your character completely differently. And remember, at the start of a new season, Conquest isn't uncapped, so when you build your character, you're stuck with those stats for a while. So if the Hellcaller build doesn't end up working out, you built for Hellcaller, you might be sad, as opposed to building for Soul Harvester. So this one's very volatile, very dangerous pick in my mind for this patch, because I think you're losing a significant amount of power in the initial phase of this, with no kind of allocation against it. Destruction Warlock, This guy's kind of sleeper. I don't know. This guy, Destro, is just randomly actually destroying in the current patch. I almost feel like the meta shifted even in the current season, moving into season 3, as I've been playing it. And Destro is becoming a lot more prevalent. Now, Destro, where is he going to end up overall? I think it is a lot more squishy than Demonology, and maybe it's just getting carried by rogues in the 3v3 bracket. And if you don't have a rogue, maybe it's not as strong. This is a harder one for me to rank. I want to say that it's A tier at least. I think it's definitely better than Affliction, but I think Demo is significantly better than it. So like maybe I should just do this to get some separation here. Maybe I should slide everything down and move things a little bit over. We'll see when we get to the end here. But Destro probably is going to be a solid pick. And as we get more stats and we get the set bonuses, these Chaos Bolts are going to get faster and faster. And those Chaos Bolts get really fast. That's going to be happy fun times. For Destruction Warlock. Now, Devastation Evoker is probably losing the most powerful set bonus of all specializations. It's very straightforward. One button spec, Disintegrate does all your damage. There are some changes potentially to some its other hero talent tree with Flame Shaper, but I don't know if it'll be enough for it to actually be played. I'm a bit worried about Devastation. Now, it's absolute melee counter. So if I rank it low and you play a melee DPS, you're going to be like, oh my god, how could he rank it so low? It absolutely destroys me. I'm a warrior. And that makes sense because it counters you, right? It's rock, paper, scissors in that regard. But overall, your experience on it might be felt as a significant loss on the first day of the patch when you go into full honor gear and you lose your set bonus, which is giving you like, what's the name of the ability? Shattering Star procs all over the place. And you're just, pumping out disintegrates on everybody at that point. So Devastation, I'm going to be more conservative with at the moment. I think that it could potentially slip a little bit just because the set bonus is so good. Ellie Shaman, set bonus, it's lava burst damage, but you're getting just kind of like baseline buffs as well. I think that Ellie will still be remarkably strong. How high do we want to go with this, man? The ranged DPS are looking all really strong. I think it's definitely better than Destro. Remember, I think that these are like left to right, top to bottom in terms of strength. Maybe we should drag that guy over if I'm doing that. Maybe even drag this guy over, left to right, top to bottom. Just because these guys are on the S tier doesn't mean they're all equally strong. Left to right means I think BM stronger, MM, Demo, take that into account. Shadow Priest game, massive rework again. Don't know how you guys keep getting away with it, but you guys keep getting reworks. You're going to be having a bit of an easier time applying dots with Shadow Crash, a little bit more direct damage, but I think you're losing the Vampiric Touch instantly applying. Like when you cast Vampiric Touch, it gives you instant cast one that you can put on a different target. I think you're losing that. And a lot of the changes to the idols maybe not be super powerful, but you're getting a lot more proc-based gameplay. You're still the tankiest caster in the pool, so I think that's going to be a major advantage for you. I think you're probably at least going to be on A tier. Maybe somewhere in here with Boomkin. Definitely at least A tier. I think just solid overall. Augmentation, complete cheese spec. You're losing, again, really powerful set bonuses with Devastation. The proc upheavals and stuff, and just spamming Azure Strike and getting procs. That gameplay is going to be gone once you wear full honor gear. Honestly, I don't even know, because they are also preemptively nerfing some older set bonuses. So even if you wore last season's set bonus with honor gear in every other slot, if Shuffle will let you queue with that low of item level, it's going to be tough. So for me, Aug is kind of just cheese. I'm going to put the Cheese Whiz here, maybe Cheese Whiz here. It's just a cheesy spec. I don't really, it's just, they'd have to completely rebalance it for me to really feel like it's not going to be. It's just kind of flies through a deep breath, one shots with Upheaval Fire Breath. If it doesn't, then it runs around not really doing too much. So to me, it's just kind of a cheese spec. Arms Warrior, you guys got like flat out buffs, a lot of focus on Bladestorm, so Slayer is my anticipation, although right now in the current season it seems like everybody's re-rolling Demolish and everybody's just playing like one-shot builds. So it's very interesting to see that kind of shift over here. I should have moved these guys all a little bit closer to each other. I was trying to keep like specs with other specs so that we could keep this a little bit more organized. But Arms Warrior I think is still obviously going to be really solid. Now, Mage, Hunter, Ellie being really strong options might hold you back. But I think, do I want to put it on S tier or A tier? Maybe we'll put it on S tier for now. Really well-rounded in PvP, just strong toolkit, utility across a broad scope of content. I kind of want to put it on A tier, but I'll leave it on S tier for now. Fury Warrior, honestly, even right now in the current patch, I've seen a couple of them. It's not terrible. Arms is definitely outshining it still a little bit, so I'm going to go a little bit lower on the rankings for it moving into this patch with a lot of the baseline trades. I think it's got decent baseline kit, so it'll probably feel okay. But I feel like a lot of these specs, I'm kind of leaning towards they're going to end up being a little bit lower. These guys could be a little bit higher at the moment. Again, it's a prediction. There hasn't been a huge amount of PvP testing on the PTR, if any. I'm just doing this based off of numbers and how it likely will feel to lose what I know has been tested, which is a previous set bonus. And we're going to have to go from there because we just don't have any of that public testing data. Assassination is getting a lot of baseline buffs to its core abilities for the next patch, which is great. That's likely going to help out your damage a lot. Still weaker on the defensive side. Could be a little bit flimsy there, but I think you could likely feel a lot better. You're going to be at least mid. Maybe I should dunk Fury down here a little bit because I think Assassination is definitely better. I think you'll feel probably better than you do in the current patch. Still kind of sucks that Vanish is like your offensive cooldown and Subtlety gets away with using it defensively because they have Shadow Dance. But I think it'll feel better than it does. Outlaw, I don't know, man. I just have no trust that Outlaw will end up being good. There's just no PvP modifiers for it. All they have to do is increase dispatch damage, increase killing spree damage in PvP with a PvP modifier by a bit. So it feels like it has more lethal damage since the changes they made to its cooldown reduction, which were obviously needed because it was just so OP with the amount of utility and movement and defense that it had. But it hasn't had any damage compensation, and I don't really see that. Killing spree is getting some PvE changes made to it. But it's unless they make a PvP talent that makes it unCCable because it's just basically Fist of Fury with a huge cooldown and massive combo point component to it with no PvP modifiers to it. I just don't see it making its run. Now Subtlety, I do think is going to be really strong. I think it's already really strong. Maybe the best melee in the game actually. From my experience playing it, and currently underway, getting 2400 in Solo Shuffle on every spec in one season. I'm as close as I've ever been to it. Being able to achieve that goal. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I've been streaming every day and trying my best to gun to it as fast as possible. This was like one of the best. I still think it's going to be. It's just really good control, really good output, very well rounded. Windwalker Monk, very limited mobility. I was absolutely frustrated on this spec playing it last season with Hunters and Ellies and Mages, and Hunters, Mages, Ellies still probably really good. So Windwalker, although there's so many monks at high rating though, so it's probably a personal issue for me more than anything else. But those matchups definitely frustrated me. It's definitely A tier at least, probably higher, but it's a very annoying spec to play. I think it's got value, but it's annoying. That's my personal experience with it, and it'll probably still end up in pretty much the same spot that's where it is right now. Enhancement. This is a guy where I think you ramp up possibly as the season goes on. Because the set bonuses could be what actually enables your viability for next season. But as it currently stands without those set bonuses, you're probably going to be a little bit more on the mid side. So I'm going to leave you on B tier for now. It's kind of just a safety net. But this is a guy I'm keeping my eyes on. Maybe you'll get some buffs. But again, it's kind of a core mobility issue with it that's going to require more, I think, than just a couple of, you could overdo it and, tune the numbers massively and it hits as the best melee in the game. But without doing that, it'll probably feel inferior in a lot of regards to other melee DPS. Feral Druid, I think, is still a really good pick. I don't know if I want to go S tier or A tier with this guy. I'm putting so many specs on S tier, but it's because they have the potential to be so good. Feral Druid, it's way harder to play as its main issue because its power is there, but it's just way harder to play. We haven't seen a huge change in terms of its difficulty for this patch as far as reductions to complexity. Feral Druid is probably somewhere in here, right? It's definitely somewhere in here. I just don't know where exactly. I'm going to go up here for now. I should put this guy here because left to right, best to worst. Frost DK is probably going to be the better of the specs for Death Knight. I think it's just got more burst damage. It's more valuable. The sustained damage from Unholy is just not there 100%. Burst damage is really good. But even with burst damage, I think you're probably somewhere in here with Enhance. Maybe better than Enhance, but somewhere in here with Enhance. Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of just more of a mid-ride. But you've got significant burst. Probably better than Unholy. And speaking of Unholy, we got it coming up next. You're losing set bonuses that are buffing your death coil damage, although maybe not by a huge amount. My main issue also with Death Knight is that it seems like, historically at least, they nerf you a lot whenever you are even remotely strong, and they're already starting to bring down some of the power that they brought into the specs, even with the reworks for Frost and Unholy. And I think the reworks are mostly tailored for Mythic Plus, and giving you more kind of immediate ramp and cleave and AoE damage in those situations, which is not going to translate very well, at least, into PvP. Now, Battleground Blitz, you still have Death Grip, you still have Chains of Ice. Obviously, those are still really strong mechanically. But Unholy, I'm going on the conservative side here and putting it down here. My experience with it in the current season is that it was very weak. It was defensively, you're just flimsy. You explode to Hunters, Windwalkers, and Assassination Rogues, whatever it is, you just explode. You can do well with multiple casters, and maybe because Warlock is maybe leveling up a bit, maybe you'll see more casters and feel stronger in that regard as far as meta is concerned. But I don't know. I don't know if the changes are enough, especially without any of the new stuff. As we move forward, maybe that changes. Maybe we see a round of changes as well. So it's important to hit the subscribe button so you can keep up to date with those changes. And my mind will change on it. But I feel like I'm better off going into this, with low expectations for Death Knight. Demon Hunter, I think, is still going to be remarkably strong, although losing your set bonus could be felt. Just a lot of overall damage. But I'm going to put Demon Hunter up here maybe. Maybe we drop one of these guys down. I don't know. We got 4 of 4. There's a lot of really strong specs in the current patch. A lot of strong ones. We got some mixed signals and some obvious ones that I think are going to be underperformers that need attention. But we also have a lot of top performers that I think are going to be really fun. Ret Paladin is still going to be a very good performer. Definitely. Loss of set bonus, not a big deal at all. So for me, I think Ret is probably like somewhere in here. There's so many good classes, Survival is getting some baseline buffs, but I think its set bonus is pretty valuable at the moment. So you might feel a little bit more nerfed there. Survival, honestly, I think is probably better than these guys, although it might be like a sleeper reason, but I think it's a bit better than a lot of these other melee down here at the moment, and could get really good with the new set bonuses that are coming through for it and the changes that we're seeing for pack leader and such. So survival, I'm holding a bit higher in regard. Holy Priest, right now it feels kind of like this is one of my last healers left for the 2400 challenge. I got Mistweaver after it, but it's not feeling that great, not feeling that strong. It's just kind of, you struggle, you run out of mana pretty fast. You have to be really effective with your cooldown management, which is great. I like it. I like the playstyle, but other healers like Holy Paladin just exist and can out mana you. It's really strange that Holy Priest is so intricate and requires a lot of like timing on your Shadow Fiend and when you're going to use your hymns and your Angel in order to be as mana efficient as possible. And other healers are just kind of flopping around and they just keep their mana topped off. It's like very weird. It's almost like it's a completely different person managing each spec individually when it comes to performance, because Holy Priest actually feels like it's tailored really well. Other healers just kind of just smurf over it with how powerful they are. So for me, I think Holy Priest is going to be maybe kind of mid is my initial prediction for it, with no set bonuses going in. I think mana is definitely going to be a more of an issue for it. Preservation Evoker, everybody, this is the one I think is the most hotly debated because it's getting Nullifying Shroud on Verdant Embrace. So whenever you fly in to heal somebody, you're going to go immune to CC for 4 seconds. That's going to give you a big window. I don't know if it counts interrupts, because if it counts interrupts and you fly in, you get guaranteed Dream Breath off and everything else. You don't have to deal with anything, no garrotes, nothing. Yeah, that's going to be really strong. So I'm kind of leading at least into A tier, because it was probably on the lower end of the healers overall in the current season, but at least into A tier, maybe the best healer of the patch. Bit more conservative with this one, as we're not getting any of the new set bonuses that come along with it, which could be really good. Mistweaver Monk, I think Mistweaver Monk is definitely at least A tier. I really like the kind of mid-range wind kick builds that I've seen a lot from Mistweavers, although Paladins just kind of trump everybody at the moment, although they are nerfing the mana regen on Paladin. They're removing Hallowed Ground, so that should hopefully pull Paladin back in line with other healers. But Mistweaver is a solid pick, just really good overall throughput. Resto Druid, now this one might be the biggest surprise for a lot of people, but Resto Druid last season, when you didn't have your set bonus, everyone thought it was the worst healer in the game. And then when they got the set bonus, oh my god, this is the best healer in the game. We saw that meta shift in the tournament. So you're losing that set bonus now. So with that set bonus loss, I think Resto Druid is likely going to maybe have a fall from grace here. So I'm putting Resto Druid on B tier at the beginning of the patch in phase 1, just because of how vital that set bonus was to its viability last season, and with you having lost it. Now maybe when we get the new one, that changes. And again, this is going to be an ongoing thing. I'm always updating. That's why I do like the weekly updates, check-ins with the meta to make sure that this list is updated to be as accurate as possible moving forward, because I want it to be an ongoing great resource for you. But we got to start somewhere, and this is where my anticipations and predictions are starting here for Resto Druid. Resto Shaman, getting a little bit of a, I think a little bit of a throughput buff. Your set bonuses usually suck every patch anyway, so it's not like it's a huge deal for you in PvP as a Resto Shaman, but you're probably still going to be maybe I want to say mid, because you have to cast a lot more. Again, Resto Shaman I think is well designed, like Holy Priest. Mechanically, you have to expose yourself to more things. Other healers can just like, mostly Holy Paladin, you can just flop around, just instant heal, and boom, 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 everybody's full HP, and I'm full mana, right? So it's a little bit more of a struggle bus. So I do think Resto Shaman is probably somewhere in here with Resto Druid and Holy Priest. But healer balance overall is, I think, really good. Now, Holy Paladin, I really just want to shove it up here just because its throughput is so good, but maybe it won't be. I could see Holy Paladin seeing a fall from grace. So maybe we'll plug him down here. Still kind of the best healer, at least with the current rankings. I'll plug him down a little bit lower at the Hallowed Ground and the mana changes. That could be rough for you, relative to every other healer, and kind of pull you back more into line. But Discipline Priest is actually getting mana buffs, damage buffs, hero talent buffs. Those will all affect you regardless of set bonus, right? I actually think Disc Priest might see a resurgence. It's honestly still, I think it's still technically the most popular healer, even though I don't think it's the strongest. But I think Disc Priest could be the best healer on the initial release of the patch, just because of the mana increases, just because the overall throughput increases, and significant nerfs targeted, I guess, Holy Paladin, and you're decent into Prez in matchups like that. If Prez ends up being really popular because I've Verdant Embrace change, you have a good toolkit with Fade and Death to deal with Sleepwalk, and you're one of the best healers to combat kind of one-on-one with them. And if your throughput ends up being really good, I think you could end up being the best healer. So I do think there's a bit of a fall for Resto Druid. Maybe Resto Shaman has some clamoring attempt, but I think it's kind of more like Prez is making its resurgence on this patch. We got some guys that are kind of Monka or cheesy, or just kind of got some concerns for that definitely need some attention, likely. Tank specs, I could rank them, but basically every tank is just getting buffed, except maybe Vengeance Demon Hunter, but they're doing like a rework for flag carrying in Battlegrounds. I don't know if that's going to achieve their goal, where they can actually, they want tanks to actually be like dedicated flag carriers now. So they're making a lot of changes to them to give them more mobility, giving them more node defense, and try and balance them. I don't know how much impact it's going to have overall. I've just been paying attention to the damage increase on tank specs. Like Prot Warrior Guardian Druid damage output could be really good on this patch, and Brewmaster as well was already really good. Prot Paladins are no longer going to be healers. They're going to be considered DPS. So that could have some significant meta implications. But overall, there's not a lot of people playing these specs. Generally, it's very hard to get any rating. I would say Guardian Druid, and Prot are probably like the best. Like if I put these tank specs up here, remember, it's like tank against tank. And not against DPS, right? Because I think if you compared any of these guys against like the direct DPS, that other than Outlaw Rogue's probably worse than all these tank specs. Sorry, Outlaw Rogues, but Outlaw Rogues are probably worse than most, if almost all of these tank specs. But tanks could be really strong. I kind of maybe just need to make they're on their own tier down here, right? And if I had to rank them, it would be like Prot Warrior and like Bear and Blood, and I don't know, they're all really close. Maybe Prot's the worst, who knows? But there could be some really weird stuff going on with tanks. But regardless of that, this is my initial assessment for the initial phase of 11.2, which is loss of set bonus, baseline item level with honor gear, some talent and baseline changes towards the classes that could dictate their viability. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Hope it helps you in selecting your specialization for it as we move forward. So thank you guys very much for supporting the channel, and I will see you in the next one.